Well, hello, UltraComfort dealers and servicers across America. My name is Ed Jejic, and on behalf of Rich Golden and the entire UltraComfort staff, I want to welcome you to the UltraComfort Lift Chair Tech Service video training. Today we're going to be looking at a UC 542, and doing the training today will be Mr. Tom Shappert. He's going to take us from the hand control all the way down to the mechs and back. So with that, Tom.
Thanks, Ed. Before I begin any work on any lift chairs, I remove the power. First things first.
Okay.
First thing you want to do is remove the lift frame from the chair. A couple things you have to do before you can get that lift frame out of the chair. You want to disconnect the hand control from the hand control extension wire. In this case, this model, the hand control extension wire feeds down into the pocket on this model. Hand control is removed. Again, that's probably the easiest replacement. You don't have to put the chair in this position to replace the hand control.
Okay.
And speaking of the chair in this position, it's always nice to have a stand like this. It's so much easier to work on a chair when it's upside down like this. So you have to get creative when you're out in the field and you want to do some work on a lift chair.
Okay, and as we've talked, if you're in the field and we've gone in the field to do training, you can use a large plastic waste can, turn it upside down, or a backless bar stool works very well.
Sounds good. Now we want to remove the hand control extension wire. It's held in place by a wood screw. That's all it is, holding the wire in place. To get the connection out through the upholstery, you're going to have to remove some of the staples.
Okay.
I've already removed them. Bringing the extension wire out, that's the connection.
Okay.
At this point, if you determine that this extension wire needs to be replaced, you want to take a photo of how this wire is routed in the frame.
Okay.
It's critical that the tie wraps hold the wires in this location so that the wires don't get stretched during the lift operation.
And that's Tom, a key point. Take a picture of what it looks like beforehand.
Absolutely.
So you can have that to go back and cheat on to make sure everything's in place.
So this extension wire feeds up through tie wraps and it's connected to the motor in this location. You remove the connection here at the motor and then reverse the steps and make sure the tie wraps go back into the exact same locations.
Okay.
Okay?
But if I could say, Tom, before you get started, notice how he has everything orderly here, including the first screw. So especially if you're relatively new to doing this, just like doing home repairs, you want to make sure you put your hardware orderly so you know the exact step to bringing them back again.
Sure. Okay, next we want to disconnect the lift motor from the straps.
Okay, come around here.
We have the clip.
Okay.
And then we remove the pin. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that you hold the lift frame because it'll fall once this pin it gets disconnected.
Yeah, very important piece of information there.
Sure. The other thing you want to take a note of and take a picture if you have to, note that the washers are preventing metal on metal. So it's critical that it goes back together in that location.
Okay, Tom.
And gently let the lift frame back down. So here's what I removed, and I'll set them over on the bench.
Okay.
Okay, one last step is to remove the lag screws
Okay.
holding the frame to the body. This is a Torx T30 and they're lag screws into the wood frame. There are 4, 2 on each side. Four lag bolts,
Okay.
T30 Torex.
Orderly positioning. Okay.
Okay. Now the lift frame can come out of the chair.
Now this is another one, guys, where we want to really pay attention because Tom's going to stress handling this with the pinch points.
Yeah. Understand that this can separate now. I hold the 3 square tubings together here and brace it down here. Lift it straight up.
Right.
Okay. This is right, my right hand now is holding that from separating. Now I can set it down and not have it open up on me. A lot of pinch points.
Excellent.
The next step is to remove the arms from the chair.
Okay.
There's 4 bolts on both sides holding the arms in place.
Okay.
2 lag and 2 machine screws on both sides. Lag bolt. Machine screw into the T-nut.
Okay.
And I'm using a 3/8 socket to remove all 8 bolts. There's 4 up front there. There are 2 in the center. To get at them and see them, you have to move the footboard up,
Okay.
exposing the ones in the center here. And these are lag bolts. And then 2 in the rear are machine bolts into T-nuts. So I've got a total of 8 bolts, 4 lag screws, 4 machine screws.
Great, Tom.
Okay. Let's spin this around now. The arm assembly now can be removed, and when you're doing that, you want to remove it slowly so that the fabric doesn't get caught onto the scissor mechanisms.
Okay.
Handling the arms, you want to either hold it in this manner or on the side, not putting any pressure on the attachments here.
Okay.
Okay, next step is to remove scissor mechanisms. We'll do one side only,
Okay.
okay? But I will remove the screws holding the footboard in place
Okay.
and basically show you how that goes back together.
Sounds good.
Okay. There's 2 wood screws on each scissor mech. There's one on the footboard. And you always want to remove the wood screws first. And there's one here on the scissor mechanism right near the back. Difference between the 2, the one on the footboard does not require the lock washer.
Okay.
Okay?
Good point.
2 wood screws. Then with the same 3/8 socket, I can remove the screws. I said I'm going to we want to remove the other wood screw on the footboard. So I can show you how the footboard goes back together.
Okay.
Okay, now with the 3/8 socket, we can remove the footboard. We'll let that just falls. These are, again with the 3/8 socket, these are machine screws into T-nuts.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, as Tom gets ready to take the mech off, a couple of key rules that you want to follow. Number one, mechs are always replaced and never repaired. If you have a bent mech, you're not going to think, I'm going to take it, I'm going to try to pound it out. It's not going to work. So they're always replaced, never repaired. And as Tom is going to point out, you always replace them in pairs. It's never just send one. They will always be done in pairs. Tom?
Okay. All right. Scissor mech is attached to the back. We want to remove the nuts from the inside first.
Okay.
2 per side. And this detaches the scissor mech from the back of the chair. Machine screw into T-nuts.
Okay.
Okay. So that's what's holding scissor mechs onto the back.
Okay. Great.
Okay. And the last 2 bolts are lag bolts. No, I'm sorry, they're machine screws, again into T-nuts on the chair. And it's the final step to removing the scissor mech. Scissor mech is off. Careful handling the mech. Several pinch points on a scissor mech. And as Ed mentioned, you don't just replace one if you have a bad one. You replace both.
Okay.
But the technique would be do one side first. It's easier to work on the chair that way. If you remove both, the back is now one loose piece, and then it becomes a 2-person job, I think.
Okay.
All right.
Good tips there,
So
Tom.
now it's a matter of reversing everything, and assuming we're putting a new set of scissor mechs on, I'll show you the approach.
Okay.
So we use it's a 7/16 drive and a 7/16 nut holding the mech on the back of the chair. Sometimes it's easier to use a nut driver to get it started
Okay.
before you attempt to drive it. And now these thread in easily. I don't need the nut driver for that right now. Okay, I won't tighten them down yet because of the adjustability here.
Okay.
Three-eighths screws that go into the T-nuts on the frame. Now, if you notice on the scissor mech, this location, the hole is slotted. Here's where the nut driver comes in play. The hole is slotted. Can you get a picture of that, Ed?
Yep.
Okay, and the second attachment is also slotted. That's adjustability
Back and
front,
forth, right?
back and forth. Before we drive them in, the practice is to pull the scissor mech to the front of the chair, okay? And the process we use is we move the neck all the way up in that position and hold it here so you don't get pinched,
Right.
okay? Now we can drive. I usually just put my knee up and pull that forward. You see the slot?
Yep.
Pull that forward and lock this in place. And you can see the slot. So now I can lock this and we can tighten up the bolts in the back. I'm going to drive these right in. And then I'm going to put the nuts on the back.
Okay.
And then drive them in.
So you can see it's a methodical approach. In other words, every step, every little thing he does is for a specific reason. So you want to make sure that when the chair is back fully intact, that it's operating properly. No squeaks, nothing like that. No hesitations. Everything is in its proper place.
Can't forget about the wood screw that has the lock washer.
Yep.
In that one location here. So again, remove wood screws first and put them in last.
Good point. Okay.
You can see how that tightened, pulled that right in.
Yep.
That holds the chair together nice. Okay, so scissor neck is on. Now we just need to attach it to the footboard.
Okay.
And that was with the small machine screws. And they will go into T-nuts on the footboard. So this can be fun, but sometimes you can find that quick. Use a nut driver to help get it in place. Okay. Now, you notice there are some slotted holes here also. Okay.
Yep.
See the slot?
Yep.
That's an adjustability just to help the alignment of the footboard.
Okay.
So
Good point.
you can force it in, force it out, but once you put the chair back down and you look at it and you need to shift it, you have some
Can always
adjustability
adjust
there.
them. Okay. Good.
Okay, so these we can lock in place now. And then the last would be the wood screws that go back in. Okay. Scissor mechs are back on. Next step is we want to put the arm assembly back on the chair.
Okay.
Again, careful handling. Careful of getting it snagged, the upholstery. And we want to set it back in place. And I found that it's easiest to put the rear
I'm gonna
lag
come around. You stay
screws
there,
in
Tom.
first. Let me
Okay.
grab them. Okay, so you can see where our T-nut is. So we want to get that started. Just get that started. And then the same thing on the opposite side. So I just want to get that in place. And if you remember, we have now 2 machine screws up front also. And they go into T-nuts. Okay. What looks like the top hole is actually the bottom. Chair is upside down. That has the T-nut. So we can get that started in there. And it's the bottom hole and the center that have lag screws. We'll drive those in last.
Okay.
Now there is a technique putting the arms on. Once I get the other bolt started, I'll show you. And again, because of this slotted holes that we're going into. Okay, just got a good start. So you go to the back of the chair, just the opposite of scissor mechs. When we pulled the scissor mechs, we pulled them toward the front of the chair.
Right.
When you do the arms, you want to pull it towards the back of the chair.
Okay.
So with the same approach, I'll just get my knee up and pull this back so that same with the opposite side. All right, and then we can drive the front 2 machine screws in. And then we have 4 lag screws. That's all 3/8 drive, which is nice. The wood screws again, remove them first, put them in last.
Remove first, replace last.
And the last 2, again, you have to move the footboard so you can see the locations.
Okay. Okay, arm assemblies are on. And we're going to put the lift frame back in place. Okay.
Before we do that, if the arm you're putting on are a new set of arms, okay, You're not going to have the holes drilled for the lag screws to hold the lift frame on. So you're going to have to drill a pilot, align it and have to drill a pilot hole, and then you can drive the lag screws in.
Gotcha. Great point.
Okay. All right.
Again, being very careful how you pick up and handle the frame.
Yeah, I always try to grab several of the square tubing to prevent it from opening. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to start the Torex lag screws to hold this in place so we can button everything back up.
Okay.
I'm not going to drive them in all the way. Not yet. That's good. Okay. Next we can connect the lift motor to the front straps. And if you remember how we took it apart, you don't want metal on metal.
Okay.
And the approach is fun sometimes to do it by yourself. Okay, back in the same spot that we removed them. Put our pin back in, motor's connected.
Great.
Finally, we want to hook up the hand control. So we got to get the extension wire and drive bolts in first before we get to that point. Doesn't really matter, but we're at a point now where we can drive these in. So our lag screws, okay,
Good stuff, Tom.
okay. All right. Extension wire feeds back down through the side upholstery here into the pocket. We have the clip set. We try to, if you're putting a new extension on, you want to try to keep the connection just below the pocket here.
Okay,
So
right,
that-
right.
And this is a wood screw that holds this in place. Done.
Now we got the little staple
I can
activity here going.
finish up
Seal
the-
that back up.
Yeah, we can finish this up now. Obviously, be careful you don't staple the wire. And reconnect the hand control now, or when you put it down on the ground, whatever's easiest. And make sure when you connect that you, can you get a shot of this, Ed? Make sure once you connect,
Yep.
that you
Pinch
squeeze that
shut.
and that you got
Okay.
a good connection.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
That's great. And to notice too, on the hand control, we have our own self-diagnostic system where we have an LED, as Tom's finishing that up, an LED on our hand control, and give him a second to finish up, and we'll show you that. That could save you some time and effort. Show you anything from make sure you have it plugged in, to have if this works off a light switch, to have make sure the light switch is active, and it is a good outlet as well.
I want to get the power wire out. It's connected for shipping. So I'm going to get this out so we can
Okay.
do the Smart Tech.
Yep. Okay. On that power wire, you see Tom's going to show you. There's a right here. There's an LED light there. He's going to show you here. There's one on the transformer while he's getting ready to go. Just showing that real quick on the transformer.
Let me make sure we got power.
Okay.
I may have to go to the breaker.
Okay,
Oh,
so
we got
there's
power.
there's a light on the transformer, and you'll see that once he connects it, there'll be a LED on the hand control that should light, and that's the LED right there.
Okay.
Okay.
On that side of that.
Sure.
So we have power to the transformer, the green light, hand control extension wire has the green light, and our hand control is lit, showing that everything should be functional.
Yep. Yep.
Any lights out is a warning through, if there's no light on the transformer, it could be 110 power not getting to the box, or it could be a bad transformer.
Okay.
No light on the hand control extension means there's no power coming from the transformer to the motor and then hand control. All right.
Okay. Tom, thank you very much. Anything else you want to add before we wrap?
Any questions? I'll be
Yeah. Any questions you have, obviously call into the UltraComfort Tech Service Department. And I just want to thank Tom very much. I appreciate what he does and the skill he exhibits in methodically showing the components of the chair, both disassembling and reassembling. And once again, guys, on behalf of Rich Golden, I'm Ed Jejic, and on behalf of the entire staff, UltraComfort, we want to thank you and stay tuned for more video series. The next one will be on Stellar Comfort, working on a Stellar Comfort lift chair. Thank you.